quickly becomes a nightmare for Oscar De La Hoya. Pascal and Froch slugged it out for a world title in England, and we name our outstanding 8 fights of the year. There's all that and more on In This Corner. Hi, everybody, and welcome to In This Corner. I'm Darren along with the coach. We are glad that you tuned in. I'm glad that you made it back from England. We're going to talk about Pascal.
I'm back.
What a fight. This guy has got a heart.
Big heart. He showed it. He stayed focused and put on what they're calling the British fight of the year.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Froch and Pascal's super middleweight title fight.
Got to deal with the big one first, huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you, nobody saw this coming, though. I know nobody saw this coming. In 1992, Oscar De La Hoya was already a well-known fighter. He had come through the Olympic program. He was already ordained as the Golden Boy before he ever threw a professional punch. Now, it's kind of funny. As fate would have it, just 3 years later in the Philippines, there was a young man named Manny Pacquiao who started fighting, not because he wanted to, but because he had to for his family. He lied about his age. He was 16 at the time. You had to be 18 to fight. Like I said, he lied. That began his professional career. And wouldn't you know it, this Saturday, they ended up meeting in the mega fight of the year. You've got the undersized Manny Pacquiao moving up a couple of weight classes to take on the Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya. And as I said off the top, Russ, nobody anticipated this.
No, but nobody anticipated this kind of a performance either. Right from the opening bell, I mean, Oscar just seemed lethargic, couldn't get off, no definition, no snap in his punches. He just couldn't handle. I mean, shots are coming at him. He can't get out of the way. Too much speed. His muscles won't react to the shots coming at him. And Pacquiao is just teeing off with that straight left hand, Dutchy. This is round 5, and this might have been the most spirited that De La Hoya was, and the only time he really was spirited. You'll see it right near the end of the round where he lands a good left hook to the body, and here it is. And then he comes upstairs to the head and tries, but nothing. I mean, it just seems to have nothing on the shot. And look at the precision. 2 jabs, basic combination, 2 jabs in the straight left hand. All 3 punches find the mark. Oscar has never been hit as much as he was hit in this fight. And again, here, look at this in the corner. And this was just Pacquiao just teeing off. I mean, too much speed. And he goes right back to the corner again and lets Pacquiao tee off again. All 4 of those punches land. All punches landing. Oscar can't get away from them. And I mean, you could, even though he was supposed to be the bigger guy, he certainly didn't look like the bigger guy as the smaller guy is moving him all over the ring. Hard left hand again. That kind of shook De La Hoya in the corner, and he wasn't going to be able to take much more of that.
Right now, you're here the corner is one to stop the fight.
Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Let's finish it. That's it. It's over. There it is.
Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya quits on his stool after 8 rounds. Manny Pacquiao is victorious. Not too many people picked Manny to win the fight, certainly not in this fashion. There's so many factors going in, though. I couldn't figure it out. Freddie Roach was saying, you know what, Oscar has a real tough time with speed and southpaws. Boy, was that ever evident.
Was he ever right?
But it looked like Oscar, it was the way that he lost, too. He looked completely shot, Russ. And we tried to make some sort of prediction based upon, you know, a certain amount of professionalism. You watch the fights, you look at styles, should make for a compelling matchup, but I never saw this coming.
The one thing that everybody, including us, and against my gut, which I hate myself for, you know, thought that the size was going to be the difference. But Oscar took away that advantage. First coming into the weigh-in, weighing 145 pounds instead of 147, which was the contracted weight. And then the night of the fight, 28 hours later, comes in weighing 147. 2 pounds more than 28 hours before. How is that possible?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Neither do I. I don't know if it was something that was predetermined between his camp, but usually
Did he want to stay fast?
I don't know, but we've seen guys had 10, 12, 14, 16 pounds.
Sure.
You know, and you think that would be one of the advantages for Oscar, but you know, he didn't look right. He didn't look strong, as you had mentioned too.
And look at that. He's just getting hit with those straight left hands time and time again. Couldn't get out of the way of it. I mean, it's almost as if the body wouldn't react to what was coming at him.
It wouldn't.
No, and maybe
he didn't.
But maybe that's, you know, I'm saying that, like, thinking that you want to keep the speed. If you weaken yourself, if you make yourself weak by doing that, you're not going to get out of the way. He'd have been better off to have the mass on him, and his muscles would have had some life, and maybe even when he did block, there would have been some resistance, but there was nothing there. Manny must have thought to himself, how easy is this? Am I doing this?
Freddie Roach said after the first round, they knew they had this fight.
Yeah.
First round, in case you didn't see it.
Freddie knew 2 months ago.
Yeah, he did. We're going to have a couple of opportunities to replay this one on TSN2. You can see the fight, along with live coverage of the Vladimir Klitschko, Rahman fight starting at 4:45. You can also see De La Hoya, Pacquiao, as we replay it on TSN on the main network Saturday, December the 13th. Hey, we're just getting started here. You would not believe the performance between Jean Pascal and Carl Froch. That was a fight. It is an ESPN classic tradition. A Boxing Day marathon, 24 hours of great fights, hosted by none other than Russ Anber. Highlights this year, the newly inducted Canadian Sports Hall of Famer Lennox Lewis, the Canadian kid Steve Molitor, all that and more on ESPN Classic, a Boxing Day tradition.
Can't
I know.
beat that.
You know what people say to me? What's it like working with Russ Anber? I'm like, it's like Christmas every day.
Hey!
You know? I do all the work, all the...
You've been into the eggnog early, or what?
I do all the work during the course of the year, and the fat man comes in for one day and takes all the credit. Now, it is a belt... Sorry, man. You set yourself up for that. It is a belt that earlier this year that Joe Calzaghe had adorned around his waist.
Yep.
WBC Super Middleweight Championship of the World. Well, it was a belt that Carl Froch coveted. He is from England, from Nottingham, England, and it's one that Jean Pascal wanted as well. He got his shot this past weekend. He went over to England. You were working his corner as the cut man.
And
you know what? This was a fight. As you mentioned,
this is the opening bell.
this is, yeah, Froch came out, and he tried to take Pascal out within the first few seconds of this fight.
That's just right at the opening bell. I mean, it was crazy. But watch the shots that Jean started landing. And these were the shots that were money shots for him early part of the fight. You can see here, round 2 action. Again, when Froch is standing toe-to-toe with Jean, Jean's able to stay right with him. And Froch lands his share of shots as well. But look at the counter left hook there from Pascal. I'll tell you what, Froch has some beer because Pascal landed clean. Now he's got Froch in the corner. This was another good round for Jean Pascal early. An exciting fight, and these guys did not let up, and this is early goings. Here we are, we're only in round 4. Froch again trying to land with that big right hand, thinking that if he lands, he's going to hurt Pascal and knock him out. Pascal staying right there with him, landing the left hook, which was working so well for him, as was the overhand right. I mean, this was just crazy, Dutchy, the way these two were going at it. Again, Jean Pascal with the right hand over the top, into the body again, staying on the inside, and that's where he was having his success. When Froch was staying with him toe-to-toe, it was Pascal who had the advantage, Dutchy.
Yeah, but then things changed all of a sudden from about, what, the 6th, 7th round?
But watch here in the 5th round. Watch the shot that Pascal lands here. And this happened, unfortunately, right near the end of the round as these two guys both exchange. Here's the right hand, bang! Now, that one hurt. That one stunned Froch, but that was right at the end of the round. And who knows what would have happened if that happened earlier. But then Froch, realizing that this was too dangerous, he starts going to the jab. And there you saw him land the right hand in the 9th round. And that temporarily hurt Jean Pascal. We wondered, was Jean going to get through this? But he showed tremendous courage, Dutchy, coming back and staying and firing back with those same shots. And Froch, again, has to go back to the jab because that's what kept Pascal at bay, is when he was using that jab. Again, they're still going at it here. 30 seconds left in the 12th round. Toe-to-toe, standing there, action. It was a fantastic, fantastic fight.
I'll tell you what, though, I gained an immeasurable amount of respect for Jean Pascal. Didn't know much about Carl Froch, hadn't really seen him fight before, but this was a fight. For 12 rounds, they both stepped to the middle of the ring, both wanting that super middleweight championship. In the end, it is Carl Froch who ends up winning a unanimous decision. But boy, did Jean Pascal acquit himself. Like I said, though, this was a fight. These guys... Both guys were prepared. You know what? It was a different Jean Pascal, too. Not a lot of talking, all serious.
Business. Yeah, and this is what, if you go back 11 months ago, when he wasn't deemed good enough to meet Edison Miranda. Remember, he got scratched from that HBO card, and now he gets in there and puts on what the British are calling the fight of the year in Britain. And I mean, he just went toe-to-toe. He regrouped. He didn't start talking. He focused on business. He went to training camp. And this fight, although I'm sure he, of course, he wants to come home with the world title, this in no way hurt his career. It was a great performance by him. He showed a lot of heart, a lot of determination, showed a great chin, took some great shots, and bang, Carl Froch, he can stay with the elite in the division. Right. No doubt about it.
You said it didn't hurt his career. You're right. I think sometimes, even when you lose, you can win.
He won this one big.
And I think that Jean Pascal, now we're going to see what happens with Carl Froch if he ends up getting into the ring with Jermaine Taylor. That was the proposed fight. Right. And we'll see what happens to Pascal down the road. WBO, junior featherweight champion, Manuel Lopez, coming in with 11 straight KOs, including 2 straight in the first round. round. He's taking on Sergio Medina, and bing, bang, Rusty. Don't blink. It's over.
Make it 3 straight in the first round. I mean, Lopez just too strong. I mean, Medina just looked like look at an uppercut underneath. That one was over quick. First round for Lopez.
Yeah, 98 seconds. He goes to 24-0 with 22 KOs. WBA. WBO, number 5, junior welterweight. Victor Ortiz taking on Jeffrey Resto.
And again, Ortiz, I mean, look, a good southpaw. Watch this straight left hand here. Boom! I mean, is that textbook or what? That is, if you want to know how to throw a left hand, there it was, and Ortiz gets a great win there.
Yeah, he wins it just a $1.19 into round number 2 as he improves to 23-1-1. Super middleweight, Daniel Jacobs, 11 KOs and 12 straight wins, taking on Victor Lares.
And yeah, Jacobs too strong again. He comes out, look, digging hard shot, short right hand over the top, and you can see that Lares doesn't want much more of this. This is going to be it right there. KO win as well for Jacobs. He goes to 13-0, Dutchy.
Right, 12 KOs for him in his first fight since a shocking loss to Britas Prescott back in September. Lightweight Amir Khan returned with a vengeance. He wins in 2 rounds.
Yeah, that's no surprise. And on the same card, cruiserweight contender Enzo Maccarinelli's heavyweight debut was successful when he destroyed late sub Matthew Ellis. Maccarinelli was scheduled to face number 1 Jonathan Banks, but Banks pulled out because of injury, Dutchy.
In South Africa, Evans Mabamba with a surprising win. He now earns the right to challenge Victor Chinian for the WBC Super flyweight belt.
And hometown hero Manuel Vargas scored a spectacular 4th-round knockout over Daniel Reyes to claim the WBO interim strawweight crown. Vargas joined Ulysses Solis and Oscar Larios as reigning world champions, hailing from Jalisco, Mexico.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, though, you don't want to miss it. It is the best 8 of 08. Some outstanding fights coming your way. You're watching In This Corner. Welcome back to the show. It's another big weekend of fights ahead, but one anticipated fight, Rusty's a no-go.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
no.
I know the fight between Ricardo Torres and Kendall Holt's going to have to wait. Torres had to withdraw from the bout due to illness and weakness during training camp. Holt will fight on Saturday. Instead of Torres, Holt will now defend his WBO junior welterweight title against Bernard's nephew, Demetrius Hopkins.
Yeah, Dutchy, and Vladimir Klitschko will make his 3rd and final trip to the ring in 2008 as he defends his 3 shares of the heavyweight title against former champion The Rock, Rahman. Klitschko is 2 for 2 this year with a decision win over Sultan Ibragimov and a knockout of Tony Thompson. Rahman lost the WBC title to Oleg Maskayev.
Also this week, IBF cruiserweight champion Stevie Cunningham will defend his belt against former light heavyweight champ Thomas Adamek. You better be ready for him. The fight will take place in Newark, New Jersey. Hey, Rusty, this is the first world title bout to be held in that city since Tony Zale and Rocky Graziano III back in 1948. I think you covered it.
According to recently released documents, Sugar Shane Mosley, like you said all along, told a grand jury in 2003 that he injected himself with the doping agent EPO. As he prepared for his fight against Oscar De La Hoya, Mosley has acknowledged using performance-enhancing drugs, but has denied knowing drugs were banned or illegal.
Yeah, sure. For months, light heavyweight star Joe Calzaghe had hinted that his fight against Roy Jones Jr. was going to be his last. Then he kind of kept the door open. Now, according to the BBC, Calzaghe says he will likely hang up the gloves come 2009. As for fighting countryman Carl Froch, who's been calling out Calzaghe for years, Joe stated, "Carl who?" I think he knows him. Yeah.
Congratulations, Dutchy, are in order to Lennox Lewis, the 3-time heavyweight champion, headlines the 2009 induction class into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. The induction ceremony is June 14th. Lewis retired in 2003 with a record of 41-2-1.
Yeah, good for Lennox.
Absolutely, Lennox.
Well-deserved. Time now for Russ's Outstanding 8, and this week, in light of Carl Froch and Jean Pascal, it's the top 8 fights.
We had
from
a great year.
Oh, there were some good bouts. Number 8.
Joel Casamayor versus Michael Katsidas. Casamayor would drop Katsidas twice in the opening moments, unable to put him away. Katsidas would come storming back to take the lead. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Casamayor explodes off Katsidas' chin, knocking him out in the 10th.
Oh, no. Number 7.
Lucien Bute and Librado Andrade in a masterful display. Bute outboxed Andrade for 10 of the 11 rounds. With seconds remaining in the fight, Andrade would floor Bute. Seemingly out, Bute would incredibly rise to his feet before the count of 10.
Boy, we had to revisit that. Number 6.
Jean Pascal and Carl Froch. The BBC called this one one of the most thrilling title fights in British history, as Froch and Pascal went toe-to-toe for much of their 12-round war. In the end, it was Froch's jab which made the difference, as he is crowned champion of the world.
Number 5.
Chad Dawson versus Glenn Johnson, an exciting light heavyweight matchup. Glenn Johnson pressured Dawson for 12 rounds and had him badly hurt. When the decision is announced, Johnson can't believe his ears as Dawson gets his arm raised in a controversial win.
Number 4.
Joel Casamayor and Juan Manuel Marquez. In a hard-fought battle, Casamayor and Marquez give as good as they get in this lightweight matchup. Marquez proves his greatness by becoming the first man to ever stop the great Casamayor.
This was a fight. Number 3.
Israel Vasquez versus Raul Marquez, number 3. After having split their first 2 meetings, Marquez and Vasquez continue their historic boxing trilogy. In an extremely close contest, Vasquez scores a quick knockdown in the final round to secure the split decision win.
Number 2.
Manny Pacquiao versus Marquez 2. If the Pac-Man is one of boxing's #1 fighters, Juan Manuel Marquez can't be far behind. Picking up where they left off in their first meeting, Marquez and Pacquiao went toe-to-toe for 12 rounds. Pacquiao comes away with a close split decision win.
Your number 1 fight?
Miguel Cotto versus Antonio Margarito. This one had the makings of fight of the year when it was signed. Cotto takes the early lead with movement and speed. Unfortunately, he would be unable to sustain it as Margarito comes from behind to knock Cotto out in round 11.
Russ Anber's Outstanding Ace is brought to you by the fresh, great taste of Arby's. One bite will have you saying, I'm thinking Arby's.
All right, time now for Rusty's Soapbox. And even though he lost on Saturday, Oscar De La Hoya has an outstanding legacy. This is a guy who did not duck anyone. He fought everybody, and he became a wealthy man because of it, Russ.
And thanks, Dutchy. And once again, you're right. You like when I say that, huh? When Oscar De La Hoya captured gold in Barcelona at the '92 Summer Games, he put an end to what had been an outstanding amateur career. What followed next may arguably be the most successful professional career in boxing history, at least from a financial standpoint. Single-handedly, De La Hoya transcended boxing. He would become the first real crossover star since Sugar Ray Leonard some 16 years earlier. And like Leonard before him, it didn't take long for De La Hoya to become a matinee idol. In the spring of '94, he beat Jimmy Bredahl by TKO in 10 to capture the super featherweight title, his first. He followed that up with wins over such stars as Jorge Paez, John Molina, Rafael Ruelas, Gennaro Hernandez, and Jesse James Leija. To that list, you can also add the names of Pernell Whitaker, the great Julio Cesar Chavez, Hector Camacho, Wilfredo Rivera, and of course, Ike Corte. Then, in September of 1999, Oscar met Felix Trinidad in a battle of undefeated superstars. In one of the largest non-heavyweight pay-per-views in boxing history, De La Hoya appeared to outbox Trinidad, only to see the judges award Tito a unanimous decision. That loss only heightened Oscar's popularity. Regardless of the detractors, the De La Hoya legend continued to grow as a result of Oscar's willingness to fight all comers. Unlike anyone else before him, Oscar began preparing for his future long before his career was over. With the help of Richard Schaefer, De La Hoya created Golden Boy Promotions. In no time, they began signing some of the biggest names in the sport, including Shane Mosley and Bernard Hopkins, 2 former foes, now business partners. In no time, Golden Boy Promotions would rival the biggest promoters in the game, and once again, De La Hoya would change the face of the boxing business. Regardless of this weekend's result, Oscar's career record is a star-studded list of Hall of Fame champions. And like the champions before him, Oscar has always given it his all, in victory or defeat. Not only has De La Hoya taken on the very best of his generation in all weight classes, he has thrilled fans with an exciting style, and you simply can't ask for any more than that. That's
Well said, Rusty. Well said. All right, we have to take a short break. When we come back, Russ will answer all your questions in Final Flurry. You're watching In This Corner. All right, time now for Final Flurry. There's the bell.
That's
Let's
good
get
for Pacquiao, huh?
What's that?
Never back down.
He doesn't.
No, he does not.
No, that's his motto. First question comes from Oscar in Burlington. He wants to know, what do you think is going to happen between Klitschko and Rahman? Who wins?
You know what?
Because you're on a roll.
Yeah. You know, who do you pick? Because I'll go the other way. No, I think I got to go with Klitschko on this. I think Rahman's come in as a late replacement. But you know what? Rahman does have that power, and we know how susceptible Klitschko can be, but I think overall, you know, he's gotten his game together. The jab is great. The right hand is good. He's big. I'd be really shocked if Rahman pulled this one out. So I'm going with Klitschko. And you know what? He might even stop him.
Next question comes from Dr. Robert Kelly. He's an assistant professor at the U of A. He wants to know, let's see Pacquiao go.
Doctors are emailing
Let's see Pacquiao against, yeah, usually they're with a prescription. Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. Who wins? Can we see this fight?
You know what? I mean, at some point, you have to think that Mayweather can't stay retired forever because outside of Rocky Marciano, nobody has ever stayed retired forever. So you know, you got to wonder that he's going to come back. And, I mean, with this win over Oscar, and considering that Floyd went to a majority decision with Oscar, you know, I mean, this has all the makings of the next super fight.
And he wanted to know how long can he be out before he's effective again.
You know, that's a very good point, because his game is built on speed, so I don't think he should be staying out too long, but he's so talented.
Okay, from Matt in Montreal, was the fact that Oscar De La Hoya gained only 2 pounds from the day of the weigh-in to, 28 hours later, should we not have known? He said, wasn't that a dead giveaway that something was wrong with him?
You know what? When you look back on it now, and of course I know the stupid cliche of hindsight always being 20/20, the two things were the weight of going into the fight the day before of 145. What are you doing? You can be 147. You struggled to make weight. You barely could make 150 when you fought Steve Forbes. Now you're coming in 2 pounds under the contracted weight. What are you thinking? And then you only gained 2 pounds in 28 hours. Definitely, that was an indication that something was wrong. He was not happy about something, looked weak. The muscles didn't look like those fast twitch muscles were ready to go, so I think that was a definite indication that something was wrong.
Okay, this next question comes from Albert. He said he was watching the Pascal Froch fight, and he saw you in the corner at one point say to Jean-Pascal to not look lazy in the ring and start acting like a champion. He wants to know what was going on at that point, and why did you say that?
Yeah, well, here's why. And, you know, when you're working a corner, and especially when you're on foreign soil and you're being judged and refereed by judges and a referee who had never seen you before, they don't know you, they can only go by first impression. They can only go. So when you're just looking kind of lackadaisical and you look at like everything has an effort to it, that doesn't give them the impression that you're winning around. So what I wanted Jean to do was to kind of impose himself and look good.
Because let's be honest, he's not outpointing him at home.
No, that's right, and you don't want to do that. And you want to don't give them an advantage. Look like you're the champion, and that's what I told him.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition. Next week, we'll have all your Klitschko highlights and more. It's our final show before Christmas. Thanks for watching, folks.
Russ Anber's Clothing by Pellegrino Castronovo.